Roger and Robert, Weston, we'll start off with the obvious one. Is what does it mean to you to have your father being inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame?
You go first.
Well, to me, it's just an unbelievable achievement and privilege. I didn't know till tonight that this was going to happen.
Really?
No, I didn't.
So, pleasantly surprised?
Yeah, amazingly surprised. Yeah.
Yes, and then I realised that he'd played 390 times. That's a phenomenal length of time to play. And in actual fact, it reminded me that they always called him Evergreen. And that was a nickname with the media, I imagine. But he played for so many years, 23 to 38. That's a long career.
And captain the Saints as well for
about five
seasons across three distinct
right.
periods as well.
Yeah.
You sound surprised that he played that number of times.
Well, it did surprise me.
Did he keep his rugby career? I think the approach would have been a little bit different back in the amateur days because he had a job and obviously the family and what have you. So did he keep it almost like his hobby away from the family in some respects?
Wasn't it?
Well, I think it most probably overtook most things because obviously, he trained on the farm every day as David Powell had done as well. But what's a nice thing is that we've got a suitcase at home and it's full of all the cuttings that Mother took from the papers. Whether she bought every paper, I don't know, but it's stacked full of the cuttings of Dad's career. And what is missing are several of the rugby shirts, because at the end of the game they used to swap shirts. And when we were youngsters, Dad said, "Well, what are you wearing?" And we'd go out on the farm wearing a kind of a green or a red or a blue rugby shirt. And we didn't wear the white too much because that got dirty too quickly. But we wore those shirts out on the farm, which sounds disgusting nowadays or ludicrous. Yeah.
So you're still coming down here as members. For you to still be a part of this club, to be a part, as you say, to see this, the other people being honoured tonight, and to have other former players and current players as well here, really says, what does that say to you about the Saints and the community?
Well, it's just going to go on and on. I just think it's a wonderful thing to actually achieve and be here to see people achieving this award.
I think Dad up there will be smiling and saying, and we'll all say, "Well done, Dad."
And grandfather.
Yeah. And grandfather, yes.
Well, Jennifer Dickens, we'll start with you, wearing your father's Hall of Fame cap.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to have had that presented to you and to the family this evening?
Well, I feel very proud to receive it. I'm sure Dad, if he's looking down at us now, would be tickle pink about it. But very, very nice.
Graham McKechnie, our host tonight, was talking about his very dapper style.
Yes.
Would he approve of a cap like that?
Oh, I think so, yes. I think he would.
It's is it difficult to overstate how much the Saints has been a part of the family's life?
Not as my young life, because I grew up with them and they were always there. There was always somebody coming in or somebody going out and this sort of thing. They were all Saints players or old ones coming to look. This sort of thing.
You were talking about on stage about Don White
yes.
throwing your dog into the lake.
Yes, he did.
Does that kind of sum up the feeling around the club back when your father was secretary?
Oh yes, it was very much like that. Yes. I think he did nip him though.
Was it fun and serious as well? I mean, the standard of the players at the time was so high.
Yes, it was very high, and some players weren't quite as high as they thought they were. And there was those people to deal with, which wasn't very easy. Perhaps I shouldn't say too much. Tell you afterwards.
But in terms of having some players as well, like Don, like Jeff Butterfield, like Dickie Jeeps.
Very good, very good.
Helen, from your perspective as Jerry's granddaughter, the to have other family members, we've had the Westons receive on behalf, so Billy Weston's children receive, but there were so many Westons here tonight, and you were on the table with them as well.
Yes,
so to have the families of the older Hall of Famers tonight, does that show for you how much this club is still a part of everybody's life as well, even through the generations?
Yes, absolutely. And my children as well are
fervent Saints fans. They will always will be. But it also carries on your ethos of family sort of values, if you like, for the whole of the club, and how it sort of encompasses everybody.
And finally, the thousands of people over the years, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people over the years would have stood on the Gordon Terrace without necessarily knowing why it's called the Gordon Terrace. For you, as the Gordon family, what does it mean to you to have part of Franklin's Gardens named after him?
It makes the hairs on the back of your neck stick up. It really does give you a prickly feeling down your neck.
It's very, very nice. Very nice indeed to have him remembered like that.
Bob Taylor, what does it mean to you to be inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame tonight?
First of all, it's a great honour, and I consider it a privilege, and if you like, a reward for all the fun and games that I had when I played down here.
When you talk about fun and games, how much pleasure did you get out of wearing black, green and gold?
Well, it was. I look forward to every Saturday in the season, and quite seriously, it was. That's what I was, if you like, that's what I was living for in those days. And it was always a pleasure to play for the Saints, especially here at Franklin's Gardens.
In terms of your overall career, there are hundreds of appearances for the Saints, but also for England and also for the Lions as well. So, now that there's a bit of distance between now and your playing days, how do you look back on your career as a whole?
Well, with immense pleasure, great satisfaction, and certainly a lot of pride that I managed to achieve playing for the teams that I did. The highest levels you can get to in terms of somebody here in Britain, England.
In terms of your administration as well, you've been heavily involved with the East Midlands Rugby Union, president of the RFU as well.
Yes.
What does that give you in terms of your own personal experience and putting something back into the game?
Well, again, it's a lot of satisfaction because I'm very keen to see the game prosper. And in the professional era, the top end is going well, but it's good to keep the roots grassroots, all the junior clubs that we have in the East Midlands, which is where I am, as it were, representing. And as chairman, it's good to keep going around the clubs and seeing the game played in the right spirit, the right way, and that's part and parcel of what I do administratively.
Well, Pat, first of all, welcome back to the Gardens. Good to be back.
Oh, wonderful. It's always nice to come back here, and every time I come back there's always something added on, something new, and it reminds me of the vision that Keith Bower had right back even before we just had the shed and the terraces, and so it just shows how far the club continues to grow, and it's exciting.
Tonight's all about that, really, inducting the people who've helped create that history of the club. To be on that list, an honour, I guess.
Well, it's a huge honour, and when I consider, and I accept it on behalf of all the players and staff, and had a wonderful time here, and I think there's still a big memory there. My boy Josiah, every time it's his birthday, I always remember how long it goes when we won it. But I think everyone remembers the day, but there was so much that went behind it throughout the whole season and the seasons before, so it was a special time in my playing career.
And for you as well, the legend of that is obviously you played into the final with that shoulder injury, battled through to lift the trophy. Your memories of that day and the run to that final?
Yeah, it was. I remember, we didn't train too much that week, and we knew it was all going to be mental, and we knew the occasion would take care of itself. But it was, I suppose in those days, you just got out and go again, and it was, my biggest memory, I suppose, was what I remember the beginning. The whole week, if you like, and obviously my boy was born that day, so that just gave me a massive lift, and then probably afterwards, Keith Barwell, all the long, Tim Rod, but all those guys celebrating, and who deserved it far more than us guys who came in. They've been here for years and years, and all the fantastic supporters. It was a special time.
A word on that, you mentioned the guys who've been here for years and years. A lot of the guys being inducted, you'll see 16, 17 years of service. You were here for 3 years, 78 appearances I think it was. To be inducted for the impact you made in that short space of time, does that make it a bit more special?
It was, without it is a huge honour, and there's so many more people more deserving. I feel like it's but as I said, I accepted on all those guys, and it was just a wonderful time to be part of the Saints, and something I'll never forget.
Well, Paul, first of all, many congratulations, inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight. Your feelings on that?
Yes, it's a honour and a privilege, and join a fairly short list. But it's fantastic to be asked, and it's a great honour.
When you look at some of the names in there, some of the guys that you'd have known when you were playing for the club, to be part of that list, it must be pretty special.
Yeah, it is, and also those that have gone before. Significant names from the past responsible for creating the club, and we wouldn't be here today without those guys. So to be part of that, and to think that somewhere down the line, when the next group, maybe long after I've gone, are getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, to know that you're there is a huge honour.
To look at your list of honours, your record at the club is, you're a shoo-in really, but yourself, are you ever thinking at any stage at the end of your career that this day might come?
Honestly, as a player, records come along and they're great. Accolades come along and they're great. And if you're lucky enough in your career to win a medal or two, then you've had a pretty special time. To get recognition for everything that you've done, and like I say, to be put up alongside some of the founding fathers of this place is awesome. Does
that trump then the things you achieved as a player, to be almost immortalised in the club's history?
Well, I guess if you don't do those, you don't get an opportunity to be here. So one has to come first. I love my time here as a player. Made some fantastic friends. We had some brilliant memories, and it's great to be back again.